Hey everyone, welcome to Createx Colors. I'm Chris Arpin, and we are going to do another graphics video. And in this installment, we are going to cover marbleizing. So we're going to get right into it. What you need to do marbleizing, or to pull this off, is your substrate, your panel, whatever it is that you're working on, your project, some saran wrap, and you need a palette. So for this, it's just a simple piece of cardboard with some plastic over it. This is my palette. It needs to be non-porous. So you can use plastic bag, plastic like this, automotive masking plastic, something that's not going to absorb the paint. This is going to be done a little bit differently, slightly different than traditional solvent marbleizing, where you actually spray the marbleizer right on your project. So that's why you need your palette. So for this, we're going to use our Wicked Aluminum. This is a great color for a ground coat, because what we're going to actually do in this is once we're done marbleizing, we're actually going to candy this. So a solid, bright color for your marbleizing base is going to be the most ideal. So I got paint in my gun. This is just our aluminum. Like I said, the ticket is going to be to just spray your palette. Put a nice medium wet coat on. I'm not concerned about how even it is. I'm more concerned about coverage in terms of having material. So you can see that, right? So while this is wet, we're going to start marbleizing. So I'm going to put my gun over here, grab my saran wrap. Now the ticket to the effect of the marbleizing is based on really the texture that you create with your saran wrap, your plastic, right? If you just do this flat, it's going to look flat. It's like taking just a regular piece of paper and putting it over this. So you're going to create that texture, that pattern. You can stretch this a little bit, get a shape. Just kind of, you can see I'm kind of just laying it into my paint, allowing that random kind of a pattern to happen. So you're going to let that sit for a second, get some paint on there, and then we're going to go right to our panel. So now this panel, the other thing is, now this is aluminum, the panel is black. It works best over black. This is Autoborn Sealer Black, just 1 or 2 coats to get a nice background color. And now we're going to take this. You can see already, I already have a pattern. I already have that pattern that's already made from the saran wrap, and we're just going to do the same thing. We're just going to lightly let it fall. And now because we're working on a flat surface, gravity is going to pull the saran wrap into this, right? It's going to allow it make its own pattern. So you can just tap it down a few spots. You don't really want to stick your fingers in it, because then you're going to create dots. So sometimes I'll take a paper towel or something, just drag it, but this is actually pulling down pretty nice. So we're going to take that, pick it back up, and we're going to put it back in our paint. And now you don't have to keep it the same every time. You can actually change your pattern, right? So I'm going to do a little bit different now. I'm going to drop this back into my paint, create a texture, create a pattern, and then I'm going to reapply it. Same thing, you guys can see it, just that static electricity kind of helps pull it down to the pattern, pull it down to your panel, and create that random pattern. So I'm just going to continue working up to the top. So now you can see, I don't know if you guys can see, what we have. So you're going to build texture that way. So now you can apply a little bit more paint. I'm just going to continue working my way randomly down this panel till I have everything filled in. If it's not dark enough, you can actually go in and darken up some areas with a little more paint and create the highlights. The reason I like doing it this way is because you actually have a little bit more control on how concentrated or how weak your pattern is. You can dictate, you can come back and do it again and tighten it up. If you're doing something, obviously we're working horizontally, right? So gravity is naturally helping us. If you're doing something larger scale, like the side of a car or side of maybe a two-tone stripe, you have a two-tone separation for your graphics. Sometimes now you're working horizontally, so gravity's really not helping you because it's going to want to pull it down. So something you can do, if it's only just you and you don't have a second set of hands to help you, is pre-make your pattern, right? So now you have this piece with a couple folds and some reveals, right? You want to make it scrunchy, but you have a little bit of masking tape on there. All I did was take a couple strips of masking tape while this was down, And now I have something that's repeatable. So even if this was long, really, really big and harder to maintain that shape, you can just drape it in the side and continue on moving down the side of the car, and it's going to always have that random pattern in it instead of having that tendency to just want to hang flat. So it's a lot easier than trying to go and reposition it every time. You can work a lot faster because you do want to actually move fairly quickly because of the product drying. But the nice thing is you can just re-wet your panel here, right, and then just continue on. So what I'm going to do is continue getting this all textured the way I want. We're going to let it dry. You might have to let it dry a little bit longer than our regular recoat times because remember, you're not spraying a coat of paint, so sometimes it has a tendency to be a little bit thicker, thinner, so you want to really let that dry up before you go on your next step, whether you're just going to clear coat it or, in this case, we're going to mix up some candy. We'll do a candy fade over this and kind of highlight that. So we're going to let it really dry. We'll see you guys in a little bit, and we're going to put our candy on. Hey guys, welcome back. Our panel is all dry. Our graphic background is all done. You can see I kind of went ahead and I dabbed a few spots as well. I didn't really cover that in the video, but we can also just bunch up. We could wad up the saran wrap and just give a little random highlights if you want to bring some color forward and push it back. So this is all totally dry, and that's the key. We let this sit for about 2 hours to really dry up. And now I have some candy mixed. I'm going to do a teal and electric green fade. So this is our poison green, and I'll put a couple coats of that down, and then I'll do some candy teal up to from the bottom into the middle of this panel. It's going to give it a really cool effect. So this is mixed 4-to-1. So we're going over black background. It's okay to be a little more concentrated. So I did 4 parts 40-50 to 1 part poison green, and I'm going to put a coat on. You guys can see what that looks like. Hey guys, first coat is dry. I'm going to put my second coat on now. I'm going to go a little bit heavier. Again, the key is to make sure that everything is totally dry. Each coat is totally dry. So it's been about 20 minutes. We got about 70% humidity. It's a little bit more humid today, so that's why I'm going a little bit longer in between coats. Usually it's like 15 minutes or so. We went about 20, and I'm going to put my second coat on. Okay guys, we're back. I did 3 coats over just about everything, and then I did a couple of darker passes just at the top to give a little bit of shading. So now this is, again, totally dry. It's been about a half an hour. I said before, it's really humid today, but keep in mind, we do have air movement, very good air movement. We're in a booth environment, so if you guys are spraying in higher humidity, air movement is key, or your dry times are just going to be increased a little bit longer. So just make sure that it is dry to the touch. That is key, especially when spraying the candies, because again, you're using your 40-50, or again, like we always recommend now, the 40-50 with our candies. So dry to the touch is key. We don't want to do a wet on wet because it's just going to cause a lot of problems. So wait a little bit longer, 5 more minutes is going to make a huge difference. So now I have my Tealicious mixed up. I did the same way. I did our Candy 2.0 Tealicious with 4 parts 40-50, so 4-to-1. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up, kind of fade color in, and we'll see how that looks. I'm going to put the first coat on right now. Okay guys, coat number 1 is dry, and I actually really like how this looks right now. So I am going to just put 1 more coat just to richen up that Tealicious a little bit more. And you can see in the middle where that Tealicious comes into that poison green, it's starting to actually turn it a little more emerald green. So I'm going to let that fade happen and stop right there. And then I might just come up to the top here and spray just a little bit on the edges just to push that a little bit darker up top to shade it, because I really like what's happening there. So I'm going to do 1 more coat and do a little bit of fading in and let this dry, and we're going to get it all cleared up and untaped so you guys can check it out. Okay guys, we're back. Our candy is all dry and we untaped this. I actually let this sit overnight just because it was really humid in the booth, and I just wanted to give an extended dry time because we did put a lot of material on here, a bunch of candy mixed with the 40/50, so it has a tendency to go on a little bit heavier. So I wanted these tape lines, got a lot of sharp lines, I wanted them nice and crisp, so I did wait overnight just to let the paint really lock up so it would give a nice sharp line when I untaped it. So we're at the point now where we're ready to put a couple coats of clear over this. We're going to use a urethane catalyzed 2K clear over the top, but I think you guys get the idea of how easy and how dramatic an effect you can give with this marbleizing technique with the candy over it. There's really no right or wrong combination in terms of candy. I could have done this all one solid color candy or do a blend on it like that, and this is a great option to leave it just as it is or use this as a background for an artwork over the top. So we're going to go ahead and get this cleared up and you guys can see what it's going to look like with some clear. Hey guys, we are outside in the sun and we got everything cleared, and this is a finished product. So I think this gives you guys a good idea on how easy and how dramatic another background effect or a finished graphic effect you guys can create with this simple technique. And there's really no right or wrong way when you stop. It's really up to you in terms of how much and how little you apply for color and that marbleizing effect. So thanks for checking this video. I hope you guys learned something, and we'll see you guys next time.